is the sense in the room this morning? What's the excitement like?
They're definitely excited to get things going, as we are as coaches. It is, you as a coach, every night you walk out to the bench, you're walking into an unknown. And that certainly is the case when you go into a season. Every procrastinator, or I didn't say that right. How do you say that? Prognosticator. There you go. Every prognosticator and everybody's talked about the season and who fits where, and you don't know it until the puck drops on the regular season. And here it is tonight. And the guys. My observation with them is they're very comfortable going into that unknown, knowing they're going to be challenged greatly when they look to the right and left of them and see who's with them in the battle, amongst the team. And that's exciting for me as a coach, when you know your guys will and want to engage in whatever comes their way, as a unit, as a group, as a team.
It's not the first NHL game for Power or Quinn or Peterka, but it is their first opening night. You take, in the first period especially, take their temperature a little more than some of the veteran guys just to see where they are.
Yeah, it's interesting because you have to, Mike, as you say that, but you're doing that with every guy because opening night is different. There's so much emotion and anxiety that go into it. Some guys are tired before the game even starts, and you can see it. Their skating stride, it looks like they're skating in sand compared to their normal stride, and they can start pressing right away because they've built so much into this one moment. So you're watching that completely, and as a coach, you're going into the game knowing, okay, how do we really simplify things? And I'm trying to keep our messages as simple as can be, to make sure we don't overthink things and we can get to that. We want to get to go. That just, this sport is fast, and we need to play fast, and we don't need to play analytical. I don't want to confuse them with that. We need to go. And for me, that's what I'm looking for. I'm not going to be throwing a lot on their plate. We'll take, the progression for us as coaches hasn't started yet. We have no game film with them against another NHL lineup. We've been in camp for I don't know how long. It seems like a month. But there's nothing that's been useful to point to these guys in a true context of what we need to focus on or commit to in detail. So I'm not giving them a bunch of detail. Let's just go after it. We know how we play. We want to play to our identity. We have a lot of returning players that know that, and that's the initiative tonight.
What is the approach to pre-scouting an opponent change when it comes to a season opener, especially when there's different personnel?
Great question.
Big and prominent roles like the break in your room.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but great question. I mean, it's tricky. There is no pre-scout film that is good enough to throw in front of your team, in my opinion, because everybody's played somewhat of a watered-down lineup. No disrespect to the other players, but not your lineup. So for us, it's about us. It's about getting our game. We know, if we know Ottawa, it's based on last year, and they gave us trouble last year. They did. We had some success against them, and then one of the toughest games we had was right here in this building, where we couldn't get anything done. And so we know again that every opponent in this league is capable. They are, and I think that's enough to get ready for. Certainly an opening night. Now Florida on Saturday will be dramatically different from that standpoint because you'll have video on them that's relevant. It's against the Islanders tonight, and that will be something you can actually put in front of your team.
As far as Victor Green spoke to this a little bit last week, but when he went through his injury last year and got out of it, it seemed like he didn't just get through and start scoring again. He learned from it and became a different player. What did you see after, when he changed?
Well, he was very down, and he was frustrated and then very down because he couldn't score, and he's in the lineup, and people are wondering what's wrong with him, what happened to him, and we couldn't tell people that he couldn't shoot a puck still. So his superpower was nullified as a way to look at it, and we challenged him, find ways that this will now make you a better player. You have to look at the game differently, and you have to react and act and react within the game differently. He really, really did a great job taking that to heart and identifying areas that he could improve on and add to his game. And we have a better player because of that unfortunate adversity he went through. So he went through it, but he also found a way to make sure that was a positive, and it's a real credit to him, and it's exciting to see him, flourish now, not only physically but just mentally too, because that was a tough road for him.
I know you're not going to speak specifically, but just overall in general with your goalies, is there a pretty good chance we're going to see both your goaltenders as we go through October here and get into the schedule?
There is. That's an easy one to answer. And you guys know the goalie today. You watch it. Just for clarity, when we don't have a skate, it's obviously tougher for anybody to know. But, there is, Craig is, there's no hiding it. Craig is an older, at his age, recovery is a much greater challenge than recovery when he was 22 years old. So that will always be a factor with him. To a larger degree, it's always a factor with every player, but as you get older, because it's the recovery time is greater, so that will play into it. But yes, we have two guys here that we feel are capable of winning us hockey games, and we want to get them more into mid-season form, and the only way to do that is to have some sort of rotation.
Don, DJ Smith talked about two teams being on similar paths. I think expectations are rising in both towns. How fitting or apt, or does it maybe heighten the sense of focus knowing that you're opening against Ottawa and it's a division rival and there are spots on the line here?
Well, if you ask me, the most concerning thing for me going into the season is that we improve more than every other team in the league. I mean, that would be the goal. If we do that, things are going to work out. So when you walk into tonight's game, I don't process that way, John, although I do recognize that their expectations have increased on them. Expectations have increased on us. We still have a lot of young guys and potential there. They've supplemented with some older guys over the summer. But, when I think about just us, we just have to keep getting better. That's what we have full control over. And, every opponent you play, tonight it happens to be Ottawa, you got to look at and respect how good a hockey team they are. They're in the NHL. And we just have to stick with those consistencies and not create any more, drama to the situation. I believe our guys have been exceptional at that. No too high, no too low. Lots of business approach to it, and that's not going to change on a night like tonight.
Don, is there a way for your young guys to better prepare them for the style of play that a guy like Brady or Matthew plays on the ice? Is there a way to try to get through to them to, I guess, not bite into what they're selling?
So you are inferring what on the Kachuk brothers? I had both of them.
They're a little tough.
They're pests.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're great kids, by the way. But that's part of the league. And these guys have played against players like that all the time. Casey Middlestead, I believe, was Brady's line mate at World Juniors here in Buffalo. They know each other. JJ and Quinner had a bullseye on their back the last 40 games in the American League from every guy that played that style of play. So I don't concern myself or worry about that too much, but you do go into a game and you have to respect and recognize players that play with that intensity and feistiness. So do we have to make them overly aware of it? No. We may mention it, but we don't want to, we want to, again, get to our game. And but it's you definitely have to speak of it and move on quick as you can from that point.
Don, what do you think is fair for fans to expect out of the Buffalo Sabres this season?
Same thing I always say is passion. Our players, it's part of tonight. I don't want to clutter them with too much tactical and overthinking and processing. We have a group that has a deep passion for the game. They need to connect with that and go and play hard. And that will hopefully ignite our building even more and create more energy and make my job a lot easier. The more energy and excitement that can be created. There is a definitive home ice advantage in any building because of fans and the adrenaline that they can create through your bench and lineup. And that's a dynamic I have a lot of respect for. And you can't generate that unless you're generating an exciting product. And we know the style we play is in hope of that, and I think it is conducive to that. And I hope we can get that dynamic kicked in gear tonight.
You mentioned at the beginning of the camp, Owen Power's kind of a guy that can self-correct and figure out his own mistakes. I'm curious how that process went through the preseason and just where you see his game.
Owen is intuitive in that regard, and he is relentless pursuit of excellence for him. So what I mean by that is this morning he was on the ice 18 minutes before we even started practice, running through things in his mind and working on things with his hands and feet and whatever else in preparation. So he's a very determined guy, and both physically and studying the game. So I think he's moving along in that pretty fast. But he's a young guy. It's his first, as Mike mentioned, it's the first opening night. There's not a lot of wear and tear on these young guys yet, and they're going to have to take all of that in, all of the so many things that happen, and that's the experience they're gaining. We've got to support them through that, push them through that where we can, and he fits the makeup of, he wants that, as Dylan Cousins did, and over the last couple of years, and other guys.
When Ottawa did you re-sign Craig Anderson at the end of 2020, given the state of the world at that time? I think a lot of people thought his career may be over. What does it say about perseverance that he's still playing?
Yeah, it says a lot. And when you just look at the sheer number of his age, I think anybody in their right mind would have thought this. I mean, look at all the. When have you seen an athlete play at this level, at that age, in a position you have to play 60 minutes in the game? So he's done a really incredible job. What I see out of Craig is a guy that's very connected to his love of the game, and he sees that, hey, my career is coming to an end. I'm clear and definitively going to miss this, so I'm going to love what I'm going to miss. And it's coming to the rink, being around the team, and then getting in the moment of the battle with the players. And it's been remarkable how he's been able to simplify it to that and find a resurgence of passion and energy to push him through. Have a good day, guys.